Hello everyone, welcome to episode 30 of Last Minute FPL. This is the Gameweek 30 podcast. Hi Vikas, how are you?
Doing well. Much needed break, and I hope everyone as well had a good 2 weeks approximately before the tail end of the season begins.
Yeah, I think good break from football, and I took the time to catch up on some of the cricket. So it was nice to see RCB doing decently. Of course, it'll all come crashing down soon, but enjoying the moment for now.
Do you think this will be the year?
No, that's I'll never believe that. We've been heartbroken too many times, and I'm basically dead inside when it comes to hope. Cool, let's get started. It's a long time ago now. I think this was a very long break, more than I think 16 days gap between the game weeks. It's unprecedented. But yeah, let's look at last week's points. I got the most points with 53. It didn't look like that at all with how the game week started, but basically Bruno Fernandes got 34 points in the very last match of the game week and pretty much saved the week. There were 9 players who blanked, and Gabriel got 5 because he got a late yellow. Little disappointed with that because he was on 9, but other than that, it's just Bruno, and I mean.
But that's a great week. Bruno captaincy is exactly what you wanted this week. I think it is pretty bad all around without that anyway.
Yeah, I mean, incredible guy for me. Like, I've given him a lot of shit over the season, and I think I definitely owe him a lot. Overall rank up to 463k, which is the highest I've been so far this season. So I'll take that going into the business end.
Yeah, it's great score. I think not many people had Bruno, and this is exactly the type of thing that you love to see. A captaincy of a player I know that others don't even know. So great.
Yeah, I think overall though this week was a bit disappointing. Pretty much like last season's blank. I think those who free hitted did quite well depending on which players they got. But yeah, let's move on to your team. 38 points. I think your defense did well. 3 players returning, and Mbumo also. But apart from that,
there's nothing much to talk about here. Like all my transfers in were pretty bad. They did nothing. I was debating Guardiol versus Marmoush, and I just went Guardiol because I felt more comfortable with the possibility of an attacking return with clean sheet odds as compared to someone who you're just banking on attacking returns with questionable minutes. That backfired. So yeah, Aina Wood captaincy was a total flop. I just can't believe it. Like not owning him for the entire season and then captaining him when it really needed something of him, didn't get anything. So that's pretty unfortunate. And I think overall terrible week. But yeah, it's not like things can get much worse. So I'm actually looking forward to next week because I think from now on I will try to kind of at least play a bit more attacking because I did have a bit of a regret going for that 5 at the back once I did make those transfers.
Yeah, and I mean Guardiol could still pay off. Even I got him, but mainly because of the game week 30 fixture against Brighton. They were always likely to concede, given how their season's gone. But Leicester is a good game that's left for them. But good returns from at least Robinson and Timber. In a week where things were very dry across most teams, it's very important returns.
Yeah.
Moving on to the AI team, pretty bad week. Fell from 10k to 22k, and that's a huge drop. I mean, it definitely has a bunch of chips left and time to catch up, but it's kind of looking like last season. I think it finished 25k last season, and it did spend some time in the top 10k last year as well. So yeah, risk of falling back to mediocrity. But the only 2 players who returned were Mbumo and Bowen. Everyone else blanked, and Palmer didn't even show up after that controversial captain pick. And yeah, Greaves getting a 0 anyway, so it didn't matter. Actually, Wissa with an 8-pointer as well.
I think the budget defense, which essentially kind of props this team up, just didn't work out for this week. Unfortunate, but I don't think the AI team was in the best of position to begin this week, as it usually is, like almost every other week. So yeah, unfortunate, but I think there's still enough of the season left to at least aim for that top 10K.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, this week it was basically just the Arsenal defenders who did well. I think where it probably lost out was on free hitters who had Forest midfielders or defenders who scored big, and also City owners like Haaland and Marmoush who did well.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's look at how the mini league looks now, actually, because yeah, it's very tight at the top now. Once again, Conte Kante overtaking the AI team. It's been a bit of a swingy last few weeks. They're beating each other by 20-30 points every game week, making for some exciting exchanges. But again, the top three are just separated by 25 points, and Sampath not too far behind in fourth.
Yeah, very exciting to see the top of the table battle. I think it's really nice that not a single team has some huge lead, which does happen sometimes in some of the leagues. So pretty excited to see kind of how this pans out over the next 7-8 weeks with all the chips in play as well.
Yeah, and good week for me as well. I've climbed to 15th, and like there are a bunch of teams within 1-2 points of me, and yeah, hopefully I somehow sneak into the top 10 by the end of the season.
Yeah, strangely, it shows a green arrow for me in the league. Don't know how that happened, but still the battle for 25th does seem kind of more and more difficult as the weeks pass by. So at this point, I think I've reevaluated now first to kind of get into the top 28 because that is 30 points away. But yeah, like I think staying out of the relegation zone is the true battle, and then maybe climbing to the lower mid-table is kind of the outcome that I look for.
Yeah, I mean you crossed PK blinders this week with your 9-point gain over that team, and that's why you have the green arrow. But actually, this week I was looking at some probabilities of catching up leads because it's the business end of season, and we want to look at how likely it is to win our mini leagues. So I looked at all the combinations, all the pairs basically of gaps across the season in our mini league. And then I did a Monte Carlo simulation to see what is the probability of catching a particular gap up. So to give you an idea, to gain 50 points in the remaining 9 weeks, assuming all the chips and everything are the same, it's about 15% probability, which is not too bad, but it is quite slim. So as that gap goes higher and higher than that, it starts becoming more and more minuscule. But yeah, to give you an idea of our mini league, when I ran the simulation, the AI team has a 27% chance of winning. Alan Evans has 20%, and Conte Kante has 25%. Interestingly, Conte Kante is first right now, but the probability of AI team winning the league is higher because there are 3 teams in play. So there is like some the scenarios where the AI team catches Conte Kante, it is also beating Alan Evans. But there are scenarios where Conte Kante is ahead of Last Minute FPL, which is the AI team, but he doesn't beat Alan Evans. So it's like it's very tough to keep a lead, basically. Like if you're in the lead, you're more likely to get caught than not because there are multiple people chasing you.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, I think we also did, with the probability of me catching up to Sampath, and it is so low that being struck by lightning 3 times in one day is more probable than me getting anywhere close to closing the gap of what about, like, at this point it's like 200 points or something. So that's pretty crazy actually to think about.
Yeah, I mean, incredible season for Sampath. So not surprising there. Even I was looking at my probability of catching him, and I think that even that's minuscule. Like he again extended his lead over me this week. I think he had Milenkovic, who got a goal and an assist, which is absolutely incredible on the free hit. And yeah, I think the probability is even lower than me getting picked in the H1B lottery, which has been going on for so long. But yeah, I think great season from Sampath. Cool. Moving on, we'll look at some of the fixtures that happened in the previous game week. I know it was a very long time ago. But any interesting games from last game week for you?
Um, yeah, the City game was interesting just because it was just looking forward with Leicester at home. Seeing Marmoush do well is, I mean, it was a bit of a regret not going for him, but it also presents an opportunity if you're looking at next week. So that was definitely a game that I was kind of looking at closely, given the fixture next week and also the doubles coming up. What about you?
Yeah, I think in the City game also it was interesting that Haaland got a penalty so early in the game, but that's basically where he ended up. Like his ceiling still, and anyway he's injured now, so it's probably a moot point. Let's see whether he'll be back soon or not, because City do have double game weeks coming up, and he could have been an interesting option. But what I was basically going to say is, at 15 million, maybe he was still not worth it, because there are
I don't think it's probably ever worth it unless you have a situation where almost every other premium player is not living up to their expectation. I just it's very hard because I've hung on to him where he's done well, and even then I was losing ground. So I think unless the fixtures are skewed in some way to extremely favor Haaland, with others being out of form, it's just not going to work out at 15 million.
Which it was for there was a point where it was right. He had the 5 easiest fixtures possible, and he did okay, but it
still wasn't. It still didn't take me up the ranks much. So because others were performing pretty well as well. The problem is with owning Haaland. Like sure, he 5 fixtures in a row, he might be easily the best option, but then there are enough options outside of Haaland where if you rotate them, there's some player who always has a good fixture. So you're not, and some of these players have been so consistent, even in Mbomo or like Palmer, obviously Salah. So just rotating the captaincy over a block of period through other players, Isaac, for example, just kind of outweighs any advantage that Haaland has with a series of good fixtures.
Yeah, I mean, he basically has to get braces and hat tricks for it to be worth it. And you already have Salah, who was doing that for an extended period of time, so it just didn't make sense. Looking at the Arsenal-Chelsea game, Arsenal defense was extremely stingy, conceding only 0.3 xg. And I think it's a good sign going into wildcard with Arsenal having a double game week coming up. Potential to maybe and if Saka comes back, he could be a good option in place of someone like a Palmer who doesn't have any doubles. So I don't know when he'll come back exactly, but something to keep an eye on.
I think probably with Arsenal, the play might just be double defense at this point. Do you think?
Yeah, I think especially with bench boost coming up, you can have a cheaper keeper on the bench, just have someone like a Raya and Gabriel, so that you can still have some cheaper defenders in defense. But Arsenal also have pretty much only the Champions League to worry about. But I'm pretty sure they'll probably get knocked out of it. I mean, they're playing PSG next, I think, and then if they win, it's Real. It's very tough to see them going past both of those teams. So hopefully it'll be all focused on the Premier League soon. And a couple of other interesting games from an FPL point of view. One was the Bournemouth-Brentford game. Bournemouth played pretty well, actually. I was seeing the highlights. They created almost 2 xg. Unlucky not to score at all. I mean, basically the main FPL options didn't score at all. Because I had all 3 of them, and they all went.
It's unlucky, but that's going to be the nature for you having 3 players from Bournemouth, because if it goes well, you're going to have an extremely good week. Otherwise, you're just going to have kind of disappointment there.
Yeah, I think from a game week 29 point of view, it's fine, because most of the attacking options except Marmoush anyway didn't do anything. Like if we're talking about Evan Nilsson, but like game week 30, they do have Ipswich at home, so hoping one more shot, and then anyway it's wildcard, so it's mainly just for these 2 home games. And the Forest game as well, 4 goals scored, and even I got Wood for the first time this week, and I mean it was basically a foregone conclusion that he was going to blank.
It's just unlucky, I think. Forest scoring 4 goals in a season where Wood has been doing really well, and him not getting anything is just, just got the bad rub of the green there. Um, yeah, but the Forest midfielders have been doing pretty well. So I think those who did go, for whatever reason couldn't get Haaland, Wood or doubled up. I think that was pretty fruitful. The good points there in midfield. I think Hudson and Elanga, they've all been doing really well of late.
Yeah, Gibbs White too. Yeah, and Greaves came on for me for Palmer, and he got 0 points. So it's always frustrating when you have these players and they sound like just for that one blank fixture and they anyway get a 0, and you realize that it's more important to focus on the points in the game weeks before a blank. But I'm sure we'll do the same thing next season. And I quickly want to touch upon the United Leicester game as well. United didn't really create so many high XG chances, but it was a excellent clinical game. Like Højlund for the first time took a goal with great confidence. He also scored in the international break against Portugal and did the Sue celebration in front of Ronaldo, where he said it was not an insult and it was a tribute. And Ronaldo also said, yeah, I can see that it's a tribute. So I mean, at least he didn't piss off Ronaldo fanboys. But Bruno, what a game from him. I think more than from an FPL point of view, from a United point of view, like he's been the savior for the past 4 or 5 years. Like he's been the lone shining star, and yeah,
very good result for Man United. I think Leicester, sure, they've been pretty bad along with Southampton, but Leicester away is still not easy for another team that may not be in form as well. Wasn't for Chelsea, so I think that's a great result.
Yeah,
Bruno,
I think what I liked about it is there were some patterns of play for the first time in a long time. Of course, playing against Leicester probably makes it easier, but it was nice to see some of those through balls and one touch quick passing. It was for the first time. Also, it obviously helped that I had Bruno as captain, so I was enjoying it a bit more.
Do you think Man United are an option from an attacking perspective? The reason I ask is the XG is still lower than what Leicester created in that game.
Yeah, I don't think they're an option at all because the fixtures are tough. Their next game is Forest away, and then they don't have a double because Bournemouth lost to City in the FA Cup. So United don't have a double, and I just don't think it makes sense to go there. If you already have Bruno, probably keep him for another week before wildcarding, but I wouldn't get anyone in.
Makes sense.
Cool. Let's move on then. Moving on to the next game week matches. So clearly, if you look at both the projected goals and clean sheet odds, City are very highly rated this week. Expected to score 3 goals and 46% chance of keeping a clean sheet. So I guess this is why transfers for Haaland, Guardiola and Marmoush were made last week with the hope of this fixture. But it looks like Haaland, he was on crutches. I don't know if he's going to play. Something to keep an eye on if you got him in. But I think if you have Marmoush or Guardiola, it can be an exciting game.
Agree. City, Bournemouth, Newcastle, and I think the Chelsea Tottenham game is also, if Palmer plays, I think it's a great option because those games are crazy. Yeah. Like irrespective of form, they're high scoring and chaotic. So I was considering, because I have Salah, sure, but I through the week if Palmer's fit, I was considering the captaincy, even though it's been so bad for that game because just the nature of the history of that game.
Yeah, it could be perfect for him because also Spurs are not trying in the league. They lost 2-0 to Fulham. They benched pretty much everyone. They have Europa League, I think quarters, right, coming up, and that's all they care about right now. They don't really have anything else going on this season, and it's probably very important for a club like Spurs to win it because then they can get into the Champions League and attract some talent. So I don't see them really putting out a good starting lineup, and I have Palmer and I'm hoping he's fully fit and raring to go. But yeah, Bournemouth also I'm excited because I have 3 Bournemouth attackers, and also Arsenal defense has the highest clean sheet odds. So hopefully Gabriel and the likes of Timber and Saliba get a clean sheet.
And you have to point out Crystal Palace also, who are playing Southampton. So those who do have a lot of Palace players, I think very, very exciting week, given also the doubles.
Yeah, I'm very surprised to see the 1.85 projected goals for Palace because they have been scoring and Southampton have been dreadful. So I'm someone who's currently looking to transfer Wood out. I don't have to do it. Because I can play Joao Pedro instead. But I'm considering moving him out, and I have the options of Isak, Mateta, and Marmoush. And I thought I'll go with either Marmoush or Mateta for a differential. But looking at this, it looks like it's not as close as I was thinking. Because if Haaland's injured, Marmoush is probably definitely going to play. And maybe Mateta and Palace are not as highly projected as I thought.
Yeah, I think it's all about if you have that wild card in hand.
Yeah.
If you have the wild card in hand, you can change up your team because Mateta is clearly the superior option for longer term. But if it's a 1 week punt, I agree with you. Marmoush is definitely the more exciting pick for this week.
Makes sense. And in defense also, I'm happy to see that Arsenal, City and Liverpool all have 50, 46, 46. Those are basically my 3 defenders going into this week. Let's see how they manage to screw it up though. But yeah, also Bournemouth and Palace are highly rated. So Kirkes and Munoz will probably still do well.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Moving on to the assistant manager projection. So interesting thing for me, I do have the option of playing the assistant manager maybe this week or next week. Very unlikely that I'll do it, but it's something I should definitely explore over the next 2 days. Because Palace basically have a double-double, but it's very tough fixtures. They have Newcastle away, City away. I think they have Forest, if I'm not wrong, and maybe Spurs. I don't know. Bournemouth. They have Bournemouth. So it's very difficult, and I don't see them getting the results that are needed to make it worth it. And it'll also mean I can't play my wild card and free hit and bench boost in those weeks. So unlikely I'll do it. But yeah, just to look at the projections this week, Pep by far 85% win percentage. I haven't seen something that high. Leicester are pretty terrible.
Yeah, I think probably for you're better to kind of hold on to it and look at it maybe after the 35 plus probably. I think the main reason is you can't play the wild card, right? That's the chip that's going to block you.
So I could do the wild card this week and then assistant manager 31 to 33. So a lot of managers are playing the wild card, either because the team is in tatters or now with Haaland injured, Wood injured, Trent injured. There are a lot of managers who are pulling the trigger this week and trying to predict the fixtures. I don't think I'm in a position to have to do that because my team for this week looks decent. So I don't think I'll go down that route. But yeah, theoretically you could wildcard now, set yourself up for the doubles and blanks, play the assistant manager 31 to 33. But what I'm not comfortable with is I'm not comfortable with the table bonus games that Palace have. There is a Villa versus Forest game I could go for, but I'm okay with that. But if I go for Newcastle's doubles also, it's not easy games and they don't even have table bonus. So it doesn't seem worth it. Maybe I should just try maximizing the points with my free hit bench boost wildcard and then leave it for later and hope for some good table bonus options.
Agree with you. But I think if for those who are going, I would say you have to gamble on the table bonus with Plaster.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't make sense to move him around and you just have to, given how the game weeks have gone previously and also that you get table bonus with the draw as well, I think you just have to gamble with that. It's just a gambling chip.
Yeah, pretty much. And because the ceiling is so high, even if he draws one of the 2 games in the double game week, it'll be like worth totally 10 points or something. So it could be worth it, but yeah, I just don't think I'm in a position where I need to do it. And I think there are points to be gained with the other chips, and I'll play it in towards the end because there are some good fixtures both from like for example City is playing Southampton, so if I want to go safe depending on where I am and what my goals are at that time, I can do that. But there are also going to be some table bonus opportunities where some team may be on the beach or like you might have some, but again you're right, it's a gambling chip. It's like predicting the result of a match, which is not what FPL is usually about. So yeah, I don't know how to go about it. Cool. Yeah, moving on to the fixture difficulty. This is mainly for people who are planning to wildcard in game week 31. So it's just one game to go. And I guess we already looked at projections for this week. So probably not much to look at. But yeah, just Palace, Bournemouth, City, and Liverpool to go for. Yeah, let's skip this then. But yeah, this is more for players who are not wildcarding. For example, those who free hitted last week and they want to keep their team for the medium to longer term. So one thing that's missing from this projection is the Palace potential double in game week 33, because that hasn't officially been announced yet, but it's very likely to move there. And once that happens, Palace will shoot right to the top because of the sheer number of fixtures that they have in this. So I think the teams to target will basically be Palace and Newcastle. And then it'll be City also who are likely to have a double, and Arsenal and Villa. So those would be the teams to target, I feel, with your transfers in. What do you think?
Yeah. For those who don't have the wild card, definitely the two teams to target are Palace and Newcastle here, because you do have to take that longer term view. For example, the decision between Marmoush and Mateta, you should probably go for Mateta. That's what I would do. But another wild card. Beyond that, so Newcastle, I think probably the players to definitely have for 32 here are Isaac, maybe Gordon has some injury issues, right?
No, he got suspended. I know he's definitely out for this week and maybe the next, but he got a straight red in the FA Cup. But if he's back for the double, I think he's someone who should have.
Yeah. And Hall, I think, is out, so probably have to go for Livramento or Burn, for example. So those would be the three that I would look at for Newcastle. And for Palace, Mateta for sure. Beyond Mateta, I think Munoz, because of the fact that I do like Palace defense generally, and Munoz is also attacking. I had him previously, and he's been doing very well. So Munoz. And on the midfield option, I don't know. Like, I mean, Sarr has burned me, but he's okay. Like, he's cheap.
Yeah.
Like, he can't always spend too much money. So I think I would again look at Sarr probably.
Yeah, I think Sarr is perfect on the wild card because he's only 5.6 million still, I think. And with the bench boost upcoming, I think he'll be a good option. Right. He has better underlying data than Eze as well. And Eze is not even on penalties right now. So, I think Sarr is a must-have if you're wildcarding. And Mateta, I agree with you. The only thing about Munoz is, again, game week 32 is City away, Newcastle away. Game week 33 is likely to be Bournemouth, and I forgot what the other fixture is, but it's also a tough game. So it's okay to not go with him if you have better options. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with going for an attacking defender who's been getting assists and goals of late.
Yeah. There's a question. Do you think, for example, a Crystal Palace versus Man City and Newcastle versus, say, a Brighton versus Leicester, like, for example, I own Mitoma. Is that a dilemma? Because they're two tough fixtures. I think Crystal Palace attractive because of the double-double, but purely just looking at the double at 32, is it worth playing three Palace players? I think we're not there, but that's still, an early thought that's running in my mind as to whether to retain some of these players like Mitoma, who are pretty good, for 32.
Yeah, I mean, if it was transfers, I think I would say maybe it's not worth the 4 points, which is the cost of a transfer, even if it's free. But with the wild card in the middle, I think you should maximize on it, especially with attackers. I think Palace can score against anyone. You're getting 180 minutes of like good attackers like Mateta, Eze or Sarr. They have been doing fairly well, and it's not like City and Newcastle defense are not like that impenetrable, right? Like, they're pretty good, but they're not like Liverpool or Arsenal defense. So I would still go for Palace players. It's just the doubles, and this is where you will gain an advantage with your wild card and like with potential planning. But for example, I wouldn't bet against someone like maybe a Salah in game week 33. He has Leicester, and that's likely to be a double game week as well. He's someone I think who's probably not worth betting against. But yeah, I think otherwise, for the cheaper options, I think it's worth. You'll at least get 4 points for playing 180 minutes. So and they can always like one return over 2 game weeks is enough.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, and I think tougher fixtures, Everton and Brentford players, most of us have them hanging on from the blank game week and so on, but their fixtures are
Fulham have not been doing well except for the last game, of course.
yeah.
So I have Robinson. He's probably my outlet for Munoz at some point. So Fulham, Everton, Brentford definitely, and we spoke about Man United as well. Lack of double fixture, double game week fixtures. Are you thinking of maybe moving on Bruno? You definitely won't have him, right, in the wild card.
Yeah, wildcard definitely not. But yeah, for this week, it's not a transfer that I have to make. Like I'd rather move Wood out. He's anyway injured. I was anyway gonna bench Wood. I got annoyed after he blanked, and I was like, okay, let me bet against him again. If he scores, he scores. But anyway, he got injured.
Cool.
Okay, let's move on to the point projections now. This is over the next 4 game weeks, and I think caveat is that it's going to change once the fixtures are announced in game week 33. We'll have a double, so it's just more indicative right now. But and also, for example, Haaland is probably injured and not going to be there. But yeah, I think, and also I think Marmoush is missing from the data set still. Like I have to force include him because he doesn't have enough historical data in the Premier League. I'll probably include that because it could be a pretty important decision for the AI team to make. Getting or not getting Marmoush could make a big difference. But otherwise, yeah, it's the usual suspects: Isak, Mateta. I think Watkins also will be an important player. In game week 33, he'll have a double. So maybe after Isak has a double in 32, you can move on to Watkins in 33. Any players that stand out here for you?
No, I agree. I think Isak, Mateta, Marmoush, of course, like because Haaland may be injured, and also Marmoush are much cheaper, and Watkins. I think these are the 4 players that I'd be looking at as well. Beyond that, I think the only concern that I see here is there's no budget option to kind of have on the bench for a double game week, and those options are pretty important. For example, I have NDIA. Or a bit nice. Maybe João Pedro is still the option. Like, we spoke about Brighton, some of Brighton's easier fixtures. Penalty taker is not a bad third forward option if you're kind of balancing the budget there.
Yeah, I think there are options in midfield for the double game weeks. Like, for example, Villa, Palace, like Sarr is there for Palace. Villas has Morgan Rogers. Newcastle has maybe someone like Jacob Murphy, or I guess Gordon is mid-price. But there are options in midfield. But yeah, for forwards, it has to be probably João Pedro. I don't think there's anyone else. Maybe, I don't know. I think Bournemouth's fixtures also toughen up a bit. So I don't think, even though Evan Nilsson's also 5 point something, and Jimenez also is 5 point something, but fixtures and form aren't great.
Yeah, I mean that's the only thing that's kind of jumping out to me because I do have NDI, and even then it's been kind of tricky to kind of have the players I want in midfield have not Haaland, sorry, but have like pretty good forwards like Isak, Mateta, or Marmoush, and also have good defense. So it's not been easy to balance that budget, and thinking about kind of adding another 2-3 million in the forward line will definitely disrupt a bit in terms of taking money out of somewhere.
Makes sense. But yeah, I think probably you're also going to play wildcard next week, so it'll be interesting to see what the constraints are at that point. I can't wait for the fixtures to be announced. Like I think the Premier League will announce it maybe by the end of next week, and then yeah, let's see what the key decisions will be. Yeah, moving on to midfield. Yeah, like I said, Jacob Murphy is showing up here, and Kluivert's still highly rated. He's been returning every game. He got an assist in the FA Cup as well. I think Evan Nilsson scored. Bruno rising on this list, but yeah, I think Salah clearly head and shoulders above everyone, irrespective of blanks and doubles. And Palmer still quite highly rated.
Yeah, I think for if you're just looking at this week, definitely Salah, Palmer, Kluivert, Ipswich. So we definitely kind of already covered who's really good for this week. But longer term, Murphy's interesting. I think given that Gordon is suspended, maybe that it helps. Although, like I think there might still be concerns on minutes because I think Barnes as well is a possible option in the role that Murphy plays. So
yeah,
I'm not certain on Murphy.
Yeah, I mean, it could be even someone like a Bruno Guimaraes. Like, I don't know how fit Barnes is, but basically some bench option for the bench boost who will sits on your bench till the double game week and then. I mean, if you're bench boosting in 32, if you're bench boosting in 33, it doesn't really matter. It's almost like just for game week 32 and then move him on to Morgan Rogers in 33.
Yeah. What we're looking at is I think it's either Murphy or Sar, right, as kind of the budget options.
I think both. I think you have to go with both because if forward line will likely need the money and you'll probably need both and one to sit on the bench and move them on to. I think Rogers is also a must in 33 because if you're bench boosting in 33, and we'll come to some of the fixture considerations in a bit, but I think if you're considering a bench boost in 33, you do need to have two cheap midfielders because even in defense, Arsenal, City are going to be expensive, and maybe someone like a Saka, but no Haaland.
Yeah, very nice if Saka comes back. Then it really throws more dilemmas in like people's minds, like because then you have like two premium players to think about, like Salah, Saka. Maybe if Haaland is back, Haaland as well, and that will really make things interesting because there'll be just so many more variations.
Yeah, maybe Foden is also going to be an option. It'll be at least there are options for people like us to gamble on.
I think for this week I'm not able to make up my mind. Like you said, I think it's more of at the moment it's a free hit type of week. That from my perspective. So it's just
pretty much.
This week is going to be very, very interesting and fun.
Okay, moving on to defense. Palace have taken over this sheet.
I love Munoz. Munoz for this week, I think was definitely would be the number one target, irrespective of a free hit week or long term. Unfortunately, can't get him. But beyond that, I think Arsenal. We spoke about Arsenal as well, showing up pretty highly here.
Yeah, I think pretty much that's going to be the transfer for the AI team at least. Bit of a spoiler, but. Trent is still in the team and that's the one spot in the starting lineup that needs fixing and it's probably going to be Trent to Munoz. So easy option and even the AI team is probably going to wildcard in 31.
The two players I like that I don't see here are Kirkes or like some Bournemouth defender and also Guardiola because sure he didn't do as well last week but he's always in for some attacking returns.
Yeah, I think City defense are rated lower. And also this doesn't take into because the double hasn't been announced, but I'm sure if game week 33's double is announced, you would see City players, like especially Guardiola would at least show up in the top 10. Cool. Kukurea has had an interesting few weeks.
He's been good. He's been getting a lot of points, but I do think that it's kind of like it's over. It's just it's a missed opportunity at this point. With Kukurea.
Like Nkunku. And I think Mitchell is also a decent option if you can't afford Munoz. But I think the benefit of Munoz is very high. Like I think it's worth paying the extra. And finally, keepers. I think Henderson and Pope are the ones with the confirmed double in 32. But once the 33 double is announced, Henderson will have a double. So good option on the wildcard maybe for the bench boost. But also I think Emi Martinez, he's not on this list. But he's also a good option for a bench boost. You'll need two playing goalkeepers on your wildcard. So something to...
So probably Henderson comes in, right? Because that's the cheapest option. He probably will be there.
But I mean, if you want Munoz, is double Palace defense with those fixtures really the play? That's something to consider. But I mean, if you're anyway just going to play him for the double, I think Henderson's a fine shout. Okay. Yeah, I made a sample wildcard 30 draft. I do have Saka in this team, but I mean that can be Palmer. They're pretty similar price, and you can. I mean, if this is just assuming that Saka's fit, and eventually, even if you have Palmer, I would move him on to Saka when the Arsenal doubles come in. But the focus here is basically on Palace, Newcastle, Arsenal, and City, because they are the teams. So Palace and Newcastle, we already spoke about a game week 32 double. Arsenal and City are very likely to have a game week 33 double along with Palace and Villa. So I do have Konza and Emi Martinez on the bench here for that game week 33 bench boost. And I'm planning to do move some of the Newcastle players to Villa players like Rogers and Watkins in game week 33 to set up for that bench boost. And the key thing about this strategy is a bench boost 33, free hit 34. So with Palace winning in the FA Cup and getting back-to-back doubles, I think this strategy is probably going to be the template one. The only question is when you wildcard. Is it this week or next week? And I think with the fixtures not officially being announced, I would ideally save the wildcard unless you absolutely have to wildcard or like you really think you'll gain a lot of points. And in terms of the other chips that are left, if you have the triple captain left, probably Isak in 32, so that you still have space to do your bench boost in 33. And if you have the assistant manager, I would recommend game week 35 or 36. But if you're feeling a little gambly, you can go 30, 31 and hope for Glasner to like four table bonus games is crazy. Like he theoretically could get 80 points.
Yeah.
Like maybe that's the play. Like if you have to hope for like catching someone like a Sampath, you have to do it and just like you're giving yourself a path. But yeah, I don't think I'll do that. But just to summarize the team, I have double Arsenal defense, Gabriel and Raya, Munoz and Guardiol in defense, and also Livramento and Konza on the bench. In midfield, Salah, Saka, Sarr, Kluivert and Jacob Murphy, and in attack, Isak, Marmoush and Mateta.
Yeah, I mean, this looks good, but it also kind of shows me why I don't like wildcard 30. Because there are so many risks here in terms of I don't know what the state of this team is going to be when you actually need kind of some of these players. Like, for example, in 33. Because you are assuming that all things need to go well with some pre-planned transfers. For example, Marmoush could be a risk by then if Haaland is back and he's kind of getting rotated around. It's probably still okay on a bench boost type of a situation. Saka, we don't know his status. He might be back. If he's back, then again, you need to think about whether you should get him in. For example, if you go Palmer now. And at the same time, injuries. Because the longer the gap between a wildcard and a planned wildcard to the actual week, the more risk it is. So while this team looks really good, it also kind of shows me why I want to kind of hold on to it. And it's also putting thoughts into my head as to whether I should actually wait for game week 32 before a wildcard just to minimize that risk.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. I think the only benefit of this will probably be targeting the Palace Southampton fixture and maybe the City Leicester fixture if you're unable to get players for it. Otherwise, I don't see any of the other players as a big jump. Maybe if you have a lot of injuries in your squad right now, it may make sense. Which is why I also feel that the play is to save the wildcard. Ideally, you want to wildcard right before the bench boost. So if game week 33 is going to be a bench boost and you can wildcard in game week 32, that gives you the least risk. Yeah, actually, that's something to consider. Maybe I should see what the benefit of wildcarding in 31 versus 32 is.
Yeah.
Maybe there
because
are some...
does have higher like if 31, I think the positive is if you can target certain players in 31.
Yeah.
But it also increases the risk of injuries and things just going bad for these players in 32, 33.
Makes sense. Yeah, we should look at the fixture turns in maybe 31 and 32 and compare it next week. Cool. But yeah, I think it's almost taking shape. And yeah, I think one big thing is the fixtures also haven't been announced. Like imagine you wildcard and then Premier League does something totally different and you won't be able to do anything about it. So I don't want to take that chance. Although most of the fixture predictors have been historically accurate, I don't think it's worth the risk if your team is in decent shape.
Okay.
Speaking of our teams, we'll start with the AI team. 22K in the world. It's the lowest it's been for a while. And I think the one transfer it's going to make is Trent out to get Munoz in. And probably start Fabianski over Pickford. Because Fabianski, I mean, Areola will play, but it's just like mathematically right thing to do. I think it doesn't look that great on paper. Bowen, unpredictable. Wissa and Mbumo, kind of tricky fixture. Joao Pedro, unpredictable. Palmer, we don't know if he's fit. Salah doesn't have the easiest game, but I think most people will have Salah captain. Kluivert
this team definitely has some merits towards considering over Qatari. After a long time, it looks pretty bad, to be honest.
Yeah, and Ait Nouri also doesn't give me much of a confidence boost.
Yeah, I mean, the defense is in shambles, to be honest. There's Ait Nouri, Trent, who's injured, Mikolenko, injured, not great with Liverpool away. Injured is probably better. Greaves, Pickford. So, not a great. Just defense is in really bad shape, honestly.
Yeah, let's see how it goes. I mean, I think that the play is still to not wildcard this week because I don't think the upside is worth the risk of not knowing where the fixtures land up. Because like what the upside will be, you'll get Munoz, who the team is getting in anyway. It will be something like Bowen versus Sarr, and maybe Mbumo versus someone like an Eze, which is...
Yeah, I agree. Like, I mean, a hit is possible. I don't know exactly how you model hits here, but human player, I would look at hits.
No, I mean, I don't think there's any player who's going to be 4 points projected more than any of these players. Like, if they're projected 4 or 3, maybe only Salah will be someone who's that highly projected. Because it's only a 1 game week. It's not a... when it's a multiple game week window, usually sometimes hits become an option. But in a single game week, it's very unlikely that one mid-priced player is projected more, because then you're basically hoping for some it's like the Glasner thing. You're hoping for like that 20% thing to happen rather than the...
One of the things that I might consider is like a Trent and a Mikolenko to a Saliba and Guardiola, or a Gabriel and Guardiola. Right? That effectively that would let me not play Ait Nouri, not play Greaves.
No, Greaves is anyway not playing, but I think then if Guardiola gets a clean sheet, you're basically breaking even. And if so he'll have to get a clean sheet to break even and a goal to make it worth it. So I think it's... I mean, I wouldn't take a hit with 1 game week before the wild card. But yeah, I think just hold out for 1 more week, and because it's like even for Pickford, right? Like you might move him to a keeper who has a good fixture, but that keeper would then have to get a clean sheet to even break even, and that's assuming Pickford blanks. Yeah. Cool. Moving on to my team. Very similar team. I think defense looks slightly better because of the 3 big teams with the 3 easiest fixtures. I also have to play Pickford in goal. Triple Bournemouth against Ipswich. Hopefully that comes good.
That's so nice. These are the advantages to having lopsided attacks, and this looks amazing.
Yeah, and Salah, I don't know. I mean, Ramadan is done, so hopefully he's eating well and he's back to like energized with the break, and he'll score some goals against Everton. He did well in the reverse fixture very recently in that assistant manager triple captain week, I think it was, and now it's at home, so hopefully he does better. I'm really hoping Palmer comes back because he was sold by more than 500,000 managers this game week.
Would he captain him, or are you set on Salah captaincy?
No, I mean, I wouldn't captain Palmer. He's coming back from an injury. He hasn't trained much. I think he got back into training only yesterday. And I'm happy with Salah at Anfield. I would vice captain Palmer if I knew he was fit. And
any transfers? Do you have 1 free transfer?
Yeah, but I think I I was planning to save it initially and thinking, because now transfers carry on past wildcard, but I am going to move. I think I am going to move Wood out, probably to either Marmoush or Mateta. I can get Isak as well, but I mean, if I'm trying to gain, I'll probably move to one of the other two options and bench Joao Pedro.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But I don't think you have to. Joao Pedro Villa at home feels perfectly acceptable. So.
Yeah, I mean, it probably only makes sense if I get Marmoush, honestly. But even Mateta, Southampton's also pretty terrible. So it's more about But yeah, it could easily go south if Joao Pedro gets the double-digit return. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised with that either. Yeah. Cool. Moving on to your team. Do you want to walk us through it?
Yeah. So Pickford in goal, Kirkes, Timber, and Guardiola in defense. Pretty happy with the defense. Pickford, whatever. But the backline looks okay to me. Aina and Robinson in the bench. Then in midfield, I have Salah, Mitoma, Palmer, hopefully is fit. Otherwise, Aina comes in, which is okay. Mbuemo and Toibert. Mbuemo not so happy with Newcastle away, but okay, penalty taker, I'll take it. And then up front, I made a transfer. I got Wood out for Marmoush because just looking at it as a 1 week, maybe 2 week punt with Isak already in my team. So overall, attack also looks okay. Midfield looks fine. Defense looks fine. So definitely looking forward to this week. And it's, without playing 5 at the back because it's more exciting always rooting for goals. Captaincy wise, right now it's on Salah, but I might move it to Marmoush if Haaland is considered out, just to try and get a few differentials in.
Yeah, I think great transfer. I think you pretty much had to get Wood out because Enda is injured on the bench, and it's just a higher upside move. Great move. Team looks good.
Would you do it? Would you go for captaincy Marmoush in my place?
Yeah, I think at your rank it's worth it. Like I mean, it's Leicester at home.
Yeah.
There's nothing. I mean, you have to create paths to try gaining, and I think you should go for it. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I think that's it for this week. Do like, share, and subscribe the video. Any last words, Vikas?
Yeah, best of luck. Really kind of missed coming back here and looking at different permutations and combinations, and I think it's going to kind of ramp up over the next few weeks. So really excited to kind of come back next week and talk about the wild card, or maybe not.
Yeah, I think it's just a straight shootout till the end of the season now. We had a whole month where there was just 1 game week or 2 game weeks, one of which was a blank, and now we have good. Like now we're in April, and April is crazy. There are double game weeks, and there are midweek fixtures, and every weekend is Premier League till game week 38. So yeah,
best of luck to everyone, and hope you're all in a race to win your mini leagues as well. Other mini leagues apart from Last Minute FPL, which probably it's going to be difficult unless you're one of the top 4 or 5 teams.